any special glues we need to use?
Well, when I'm laminating backs and sides, I use urea formaldehyde resin.
Okay.
Lots of woodworkers out there are probably familiar with Cascamite as a product.
Actually, I thought it reminded me of Cascamite.
Yeah. Well, what Cascamite is, it's a powder resin and a powder hardener that are already pre-mixed in the can, right, in the tin. So when you take the lid off, you mix those two parts.
And this is...
Yeah, so it's that
what it looks like when it's gone hard.
it's that, yeah, exactly, it's that colour. So you just add water to Cascamite powder. The problem with that is that because you've got the resin and the hardener already mixed, as soon as you take the lid off the tin, the moisture in the atmosphere starts those two parts reacting with one another. So if you've had the lid off of the tin for a month, I don't mean sat there and you open it, put it back on, a month later you come back, 25% of the resin and the hardener have reacted. So what you're then doing is you're then actually creating a matrix of active adhesive with already gone off powder. So the quality of the strength, or the strength of that adhesive decreases fairly rapidly. The system that I use is actually a liquid resin with a powder hardener, and then I also add something called an extender powder, which is a bit of it's the wrong name for it really. It doesn't do anything to the cure time, but what it does, it prevents the adhesive from squeezing through to the surface. Now if anybody's ever done any veneering with epoxy, for instance, you'll know that's a real issue. Epoxy comes through veneer very, very easily, but using this extender powder, it prevents any bleed through to the surface, which makes cleanup very, very easy. It kind of makes it thick, but what it does is it blocks the pores. So as soon as it gets pushed into the veneer, it's kind of plugging the pore. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you can see that's the surface, and you know, if we'd done that with epoxy, there'd be patches all over that where the glue had come through. There's no bleed through on that at all.
But you can. There are other jobs where you can use any glue, presumably.
Yeah.
If you want
Right. The advantage of using this type of resin for laminations is that you've got a very, very long open time. You know, yeah, exactly. It doesn't start curing as soon as you put it on the wood, which PVA does, or Titebond does. Because of the way that those adhesives work, the water is soaking into the veneer as soon as you put it on, and that does two things. A, it starts to swell up the veneer. So you may start to get wrinkles forming in the veneer, but it also means that you're trapping moisture into that panel, which even when the glue's gone off, there is still that excess moisture in the panel. A UF resin goes hard purely through a chemical reaction, and it's not soaking into the wood and making it expand in the way that a water-based glue does. And you can hear, you know, that goes properly hard.
Is it difficult to find this stuff?
Nope. No. Again, you know, readily available. I stock it. You know, I can supply it to you.
Link in the description.
Absolutely fine.
And the veneers as well. Are they easy to get hold of?
Yeah, I'm more than happy to source veneers and supply veneers to anybody who wants to have a go at this. That's
fantastic.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in getting hold of some of this stuff, then get in touch. Check the link in the description. Because of the thinness of the veneer, it can be a bit daunting to folks to know how to join that perfectly without any step or anything like that.
Yep, absolutely.
So you was going to demonstrate to us how that's done?
Yeah, in actual fact, the process is extremely similar to what you'd use for a soundboard or a back. It's just that you're working with material that's 0.6 of a mil thick. This is the outer layer in tropical olive that's been taped up and glued, so that's actually ready now for the tape to come off. But the process is quite easy. But what you do is you've got your two layers of veneer, exactly the same way. If you're going to join them there, what you do, you fold them over just the same as you would with the soundboard. Just a bit of off-cut MDF and a bar. Just push them both up against that. Put the bar on top, just leaving a little bit protruding, and just poke it out just over the edge of that bottom bar. Okay, so you keep the bar as close to the edge of the veneer as possible, and then the veneer just overhanging the bottom piece of offcut, and then with your plane, just the same as you would with a soundboard, you can just shoot that edge And you can see, you know, you're producing lovely little shavings off of the veneer in exactly the same way as you would a piece of solid.
So just a couple of shoots with the blade, is it?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you can just push it together to check that it's going to, you know, it doesn't need a bit taken off the middle, but that's pretty good. I can't see where the join is, so that's always a good sign. I tend to use self-adhesive veneer tape rather than what we refer to as a lick and stick, which is the old sort of gum tape. It's easy to put on, it's easy to take off. So you just put a little bit of stretch in that as you're going.
So there's a special kind of tape, is it?
It comes off of the veneer very easily, so it doesn't leave a gum residue.
Masking tape would leave a little residue.
Masking tape can do that. Yeah, so this is a very, very thin tape as well. So when you're pressing veneers, not so much when you're guitar making, but if you're pressing veneers and the tape's still in place, it's not creating an indentation into the veneer. So you do that all the way down, and then you put one longitudinal piece like that. Okay. And then I have one of these little lino rollers.
Squash it flat.
Squash it flat. What you do is you fold it over, and again just go down it, just to flatten the tape out. And then you get your little miniature glue bot, or whatever. Have you got one of these?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you need to get one of these. These are great. Because
cool.
It's a sealed container, so you can squeeze it and the glue then comes up to this nozzle. Okay. And then what you do is just get your veneer, and I normally cut a little notch in the end of there.
To hook it on.
Yeah. And then you can just squeeze it.
Yeah. Brilliant.
And just glue along that edge. And then using your built-in glue spreader. And because it's such a narrow edge, you need very little glue to do this.
And we're just using ordinary white PVA.
This is just white PVA. Then you flatten it out again. And I normally have a little scraper. I just go along there just to clean that bead off. Another bit of tape. You don't need to do the crossway layers or the crossway taping now. And you just put that down. Just roll it like that. Trim the end off.
And that's that.
And then just put it to one side, half an hour, 40 minutes, leave it to dry, and you can take the tape off and use it.
Fantastic.
Very, very simple.
Excellent. Well, you make it look easy. Thanks for demonstrating that.
That's all right.
Darren. Brilliant.
So in the case of this, you can see this was the joint that we did first, and this is the secondary joint. So if we now take these off, I mean, taking tape off of veneer, it's always, you keep an eye on what's happening, because if it starts to lift the grain up, come from the other end. And also, you know, coming sideways is often quite useful, but make sure you're not coming so sideways that you're going to tear yeah, exactly.
Also keep a short tail, I say.
Yeah, keep it low. You see what I'm doing there, keeping it low to the material.
What I find is if you've got a long tail, you tend to lose control.
Yeah.
And then if it does lift the grain, you can't stop in time.
Yeah.
So if you keep a nice short tail,
yeah,
you're less likely to do some damage.
Some veneers are far worse for this than others. Oak can be an absolute nightmare. But I guess oak doesn't get you. I mean, I've seen a few guitars made of oak, but it never strikes me as a particularly good.
It's not our favourite tone order choice. No. It's too heavy for most people.
Bog oak seems to be a thing.
I think that's
it's a fad, is it?
Some of those trends are kicking off.
Yeah, I've used bog oak.
For instance, spalted beech, spalted maple. Yeah. You used to be able to buy dirt cheap.
Yeah.
But then when people started using it for guitars, suddenly it becomes super expensive. Yeah. It goes up 10 times the price.
Well, maybe we should just be keeping the use of veneers in guitar making a secret then, Mark.
Should we just keep this to ourselves?
Yeah. So you can see there, I mean, would you be happy with that as a joint mark?
That's not too bad at all, is it? Essentially perfect. Invisible glue joins, that's what we're looking for. It didn't take very long, did it?
No.
Brilliant.
So that's gluing, or edge gluing veneers.
Fantastic.